If you're struggling to connect with the spirit world and you want to become a medium, I want to help you. My name is August, and I help people connect with the spirit world without all the woo and mystery. Okay, this is just practical stuff. I want to go over, a couple things here today on this video. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video, so make sure that you stay with me. All right, this is going to help clear up a lot of the stuff that has been keeping you stuck. And also, I'm going to talk about how to not just get unstuck, but how you can undeniably have a effortless flowing conversation with any spirit, right? Because most of us doubt, right? There's a lot of us that are out there that are connecting with the spirit world actively, but it's random, okay? And sometimes we really doubt the experience, or a lot of the times, right? Depending on who you talk to. You know, we get these things, we get these downloads, and we talk ourselves out of it, all right? We get these messages from the spirit world. We get these signs. I think signs are one of the more common things that people are actually open to receiving. Although I am not a fan of signs. I don't want to get these cryptic symbols. It's fine and dandy if I get that from the spirit world, but I would much rather have a conversation. I would rather just stand up and talk. Okay. And that's one of the things that I want to show you guys how to do here today. That if you are getting signs from the spirit world and you're not sure what they mean, I'm going to show you how to just say, hey, let's talk and have a conversation, because that's really all the sign means. It's a spirit, it's a loved one, it's a spirit guide, it's some sort of energy that's showing up that's trying to get your attention. All right. And it's just saying hi. All right. And so it's up to us. I want you to think of it like a sign is like the spirit world ringing your doorbell, and then you have to go and answer. All right. So if you have questions as I'm going through some of this stuff, just go ahead and pop it in the comments down there, and I'll be going through some of the comments and answering some questions here today. But here's the thing. We are all born with 7 psychic senses. All right. And let me define that a little bit, what I mean about senses. All right. Because I feel like the words that we speak and the definition of those, we all have to kind of be on the same page. All right. So when I say psychic senses, a lot of, some of the similar words that you might have heard out there are things like clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, clairaudience, everything else under the sun, okay? You might even heard them called spiritual gifts, spiritual abilities, energy sensitivities, ESP, sensitivities, right? There's all of these different words. I just call them abilities, really. And I think that psychic abilities really communicates exactly what they are, because these are non-physical abilities that we have, okay? And so we all have 7 of them. Okay, there's seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, empathy, taste, and smell. All right, now the taste and smell are taste and smell through energetic stimulus. It's not that your spirit world's putting something in your mouth, okay, or you're smelling something. These are energetic stimuluses, right? Example is like you smell cigarette smoke when, your grandpa or you smell pipe smoke when your grandpa who smoked the pipe is visiting you, okay? Those are the types of, that's kind of what the smelling is. But I want to go through the rest of them real quick, because there's a lot of confusion again on the definitions and what it's like to experience these different 7 senses. And once you understand what it's like to experience your 7 different senses, it really does kind of change things. You start to realize how you are already actively experiencing the spirit world, okay? So the first one, seeing. Seeing is like seeing a memory, right? The way that we see a memory play out, or even the way that we visualize, that's the same way that we see a spirit, except it's not us remembering the memory or conjuring up the image through a visualization. What it is it's the spirit's energy paints an image in our mind's eye. Okay, our mind's eye is just another way of saying our psychic sense of seeing. Okay, and that is what interprets that energy and turns it into a sight so our brain can understand it. Okay, now I know that was a lot of words. Basically, when the spirit's energy projects, you get an image. That's the difference. It's you receiving the image versus you conjuring it up or thinking it up. Okay, and so a question that I get when I go over this is like, well, how do I tell the difference between the two? How do I tell the difference of the image that I got from the spirit or the image that I got from from me just being in my head? And we're going to get into that a lot later on. But the short answer is that it feels different. It really feels different. And when you first start coming into your spiritual abilities and your psychic senses, and you start working with them, it's a little bit difficult to tell the difference. But if you keep trying, right? That's the thing, is that a lot of people stop because they don't think they're doing it wrong, or they think they're doing it wrong. They think there's something wrong with them, or they just don't have it. Let me be very clear and blunt. Everyone has this. Every single person can do this. You are a spirit. You can definitely communicate with other spirits. You are not a human being on the soul level. Okay? You are energy. Your consciousness is energy. Your awareness is energy. And so, of course, you're going to be able to do all of these other things because that's your senses in energy form. Okay? And so it's just a matter of remembering that. So anyway, so that's the way that we see. It's receiving the image versus making it up. All right. Now, hearing the spirit is very similar to that sense as well. Hearing a spirit sounds like your thoughts. That's what it sounds like in your head. Sometimes it can be in your own voice. Sometimes it's in the spirit's voice. It doesn't really matter. Okay. Because what happens is the spirit's energy is projecting itself. You're receiving that energy and you're receiving the thought. Okay. And the reason it can sound either or, and really most of the time it sounds like your thoughts, because again, you're receiving what the spirit is projecting, your energy gets it, and then your senses turns it into something that your brain can understand, a thought. Right? If you could understand vibration, if your brain could understand the wah, 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 wah of what you received, we wouldn't need the brain at all. Okay. But in order for our humanness to understand it, right? And when we do shed this human body, we do understand the wah, 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 right? Because it does. It feels like there's this buzzing, there's this vibration of when you're connecting. Okay. And so that's what it's like hearing spirit. It is you receiving the thought, not you thinking the thought, okay? Now, the other one, number 3, feeling, okay? And I'm not talking about like an emotional feeling. I'm talking about physical touch, okay? Without physical touch, okay? Well, what if that doesn't make sense, August? Let me explain it a little bit, okay? Now, it's like, what happens again, and the brain is involved in all of this, okay? And so those of you that are out there trying to develop these abilities or are actively doing this work and struggling, if you're trying to fight your brain out of the process, you're missing out on so much, okay? Our brain is just going to be part of the process, okay? And you don't need to fight it. You don't need to shut it down. And this is what I'm going to go over now is a perfect example of that, all right? Now, when you feel a spirit, it's like you're feeling the stroke. It's like you're feeling the hug of their embrace, right? Or the embrace of their hug. You're feeling the hand on your shoulder, okay? You may even be feeling your loved one starting to hold your hand and you actually feel a squeeze, okay? Nothing is squeezing your hand. What's happening is there's energy. The spirit is, again, projecting its energy with an intention of holding your hand. Okay. And when that energy interacts with your energy, you feel that intention, your brain fills in the gaps, and it makes it feel like there's a squeeze on your hand or an embrace from the spirit world or a stroke on your shoulder. There's no physical touch occurring. It's the intention that you feel from the spirit with your brain filling in the gaps of what's happening and actually delivering that physical sensation. All right. Now, I know these are kind of drawn out explanations, but I need you guys to understand these things on a very practical basis, right? There's so much woo out there, all right? And listen, no hate to that. If you want to sort through and sift through all the woo and fluffy messages, more power to you. I have found that stuff zero help, nothing. Okay, I've gotten nothing out of that woo stuff, all right? And so I prefer a practical approach. All right, so we got seeing, hearing, feeling. Now let's talk about knowing. All right, because this is very common. Everybody does this. Let me know if this happens in your life on a daily basis, okay? Knowing, all right? So it's also like, I'll also call it like a download sometimes, because that's kind of what it's like. It's where this information just flashes into your awareness. It's like this crack of lightning. It comes so fast that you might not even be aware that it has come, all right? But it has come through, all right? And so it's like this gut feeling. All right. It's a gut feeling that you get about something. All right. And so to explain what this is, all right, so you know how you ever get like a sense of something, and or you're asking a question of your spirit guides or a loved one, or you're even, you get a feeling about somebody or something or a situation, and that answer comes rushing in, then you immediately talk yourself out of it and you justify it away, and it was just a flash, a little glimpse of an insight, but you immediately talked yourself out of it or started to think that it was something else. A knowing is that first thing. The first thing that came through before you talked yourself out of it. All right. It comes through fast. And listen, a knowing, the way that you can experience a knowing with the spirit world. And this is, like I said, I work with a lot of my students this way because knowing is so common. A lot of students come in and they're not able to see a spirit. They're not able to hear a spirit, right? But the knowing is always there. And so one of the ways that we work with that is that, instead of trying to see a spirit when we're connecting, I'll just ask them, what do they become aware of? And then boom, the information will come through. And so like for example, let's say, I'm connecting and I would just know that there's a man there standing in front of me. I would just know he's wearing a tuxedo. I would know he has a top hat. I would know he had a cane, a sharp looking guy, huh? I would just know what he looks like without seeing him. I would just know that he's laughing without hearing him. I would just know that his message is that he's Uncle Bob and he's here to save the world or whatever it is, right? I wouldn't hear anything. I wouldn't experience anything. I would just get these downloads and flashes, okay? Hey, Wanda, how are you? Glad you're on in here. Wanda's one of my students. Good to see you. Can't wait to see you guys, in our next session coming up on Wednesday. Glad you're here. So anyway, on the knowing, okay, you don't like it's such a deep and vivid experience. I've had myself and I've had other students of mine go so deep into an experience with just that one sense. Full on body chills, full on experience with just the knowing. Okay. So don't discount that if that's your strong suit. Okay. All right, so what did we do? We did seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, empathy. We are all empaths, right? We all have the ability to sense and feel the emotions of others, not just the spirit world, but we do that with other people as well. All right. And so that is an ability in itself, right? It's something that some of us are very good at. Who are my feelers out there? Which one of you are the feelers, right? I'm a feeler. Okay. I feel your pain. I feel your heart. I feel your love. I feel your joy. I feel it all. Okay. Empathy. All right. So empathy, feeling, it's where you can just feel the love of the spirit. You can feel the joy. All right. You can feel the anxiety. You can feel the shyness. You can feel the emotion of that spirit. And that in itself can deliver a lot of information. All right. All right. The next one, taste. I talked about this a little bit earlier. All right. Now, this is not like you tasting a cookie that you're chewing in your mouth. Okay. This is like kind of like you're watching a commercial on TV and your favorite food is they're cooking your favorite food and it looks so good and amazing. You can almost taste it and you kind of do. That's what it's like. All right. There is this energetic stimulus. It's not food in your mouth. It's something else. Right. And an example of this is like when you're connecting with, say you're connecting with Aunt Sue, and she was known for her apple pie. You may begin to start to taste the apple pie. All right. The same thing with smell. The smell, you're going to smell the apple pie. All right. Even though it's not there. Or you might smell the pipe that your grandfather used to smoke. All right. Or the cigarettes or the perfume or the roses. All right. Or even distinct smells. Right. You can smell these things. Okay. So that's the 7 abilities. All right. And how you would experience them. And I'm sure that like a lot of you, let me know in the comments, have you ever experienced these throughout your day and dismissed them? Right? How many of you like get an image and are like, oh, that was my imagination? Well, maybe it wasn't, right? How many of you get a thought that just pops into your head and you're like, wow, why am I thinking about that? Yeah. All of those things could be a form of connection, not just with the spirit world, but also with your intuition or with energy that you're interacting with, the energy of a situation, the energy of a decision, right? The energy of an environment, the energy of another person. You guys have any questions? And so one of the cool things that I like, about working with other people is kind of like looking for their dominant sense. All right. That's something that I just have this thing where I could just see it coming right away. Okay. And maybe you guys have a sense for that. What I mean by the dominant sense is out of those 7 senses that I just talked about, seeing, hearing, feeling, empathy, taste, and smell, and knowing, what one do you feel that's the strongest for you? Hey, Paula, how's it going? Glad you're on here on the live. Can't wait to see you guys coming up on Wednesday. So which one do you feel is the strongest for you? Or which one do you feel that is happening the easiest? Okay. Because chances are that's your dominant sense. And all that means is that it's the low hanging fruit. That's what I like to call it. It's this low hanging fruit that makes it very easy for you to connect. Okay, because it's just depending on the way that you were brought up, depending on your life experience, depending on, the different experiences that you had, that's what's going to determine which one's flowing easiest for you. For example, I was brought up in kind of a emotionally unstable childhood, in an emotionally unstable home. Right? Things were always popping off, right? I never knew what was going to be happening. And so I developed this strong sense of empathy because I needed to immediately feel the emotions of others that were around me to see if it was safe, to see how I could interact with the environment. So because of that, my ability of empathy, of sensing emotions was really, really heightened. Okay, it was always there. Okay, but it did not fade into the background like when we first are born into this world, right? Because all of our abilities are wide open when we come here, but it's the conditioning that we experience through society, through family, through school, through different, forms of society, that causes us to forget. And so I was not able to forget about the sense of empathy because it wasn't very safe for me emotionally to not have that ability of empathy. And so, that's just a quick example. All right. The other reason why gut feeling is so dominant for so many people is because you haven't forgot about gut feeling. Because it is still acceptable by society. It's not something that's been conditioned out of us. That knowing, that download that you get is the same thing as a gut feeling. And it is acceptable in society today to say that you had a gut feeling. People understand what that means. But if you tell somebody you got this download about what's going on, they're going to be like, what are you talking about, you psycho? And it's really the same thing, right? We just, we're picked up on psychic energy and we got this knowing, right? We read the psychic energy and it came through a knowing is the same thing as saying, I have a gut feeling about this thing. And that's acceptable. And that's why most people has that dominant sense of knowing. All right. But listen, most people wonder why, but most of the teachings that are out there teach people, right? And this is the old woo-woo way, right? I'm going to teach you guys the new way, the simple way. All right. And really that is the way that you want to connect to the spirit world is through simplicity. All of that other stuff, the meditation, the chakra stuff, the stuff that you have to do with light and through your body and, getting the right crystals and, all of these trainings and these visualizations and this practice over and blah, 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 blah. None of that is necessary. None of it. Okay, you can go right into a connection. And it's the belief that you have to open your third eye or that you have to meditate or you have to visualize chakras or open and close them. That stuff is what's holding you back. You get all busy doing that other stuff and you forget it's just like, boom, let's connect. Treat the spirit world no different than this world. I don't have to do anything with a chakra to talk to somebody, right? Let's just talk, okay? And so I kind of got off track there. I'm not sure where I was going, but I just wanted to, I think that that's important to understand is that that's really the easy way when we leave out all of that stuff. Okay. I know where I was going. So you don't have to practice your seeing, you don't have to practice your hearing, you don't have to practice, right, any of your clairs. There's no exercise that's going to make you develop one sense over the other. It just doesn't happen that way because you have all of the senses. Right now, every single one of your psychic senses are fully active, fully strengthened, and there right now. It's not about developing anything, it's about becoming aware of them. Okay? And so when we understand which one of our abilities are happening, or, sometimes some people have two or three that are happening very naturally, right? The low-hanging fruit, which ones are coming through, the knowing, like I said, I keep coming back to that because it's so common. Once you understand what's happening most naturally for you, you have no business, when you go to connect, you have no business trying to use something else. If you know you have that knowing, then why are you trying to see the spirit? Why are you trying to hear them? Just go with the knowing. And here's what happens. When you just work with what's the low-hanging fruit, what's happening easiest for you, that knowing is going to bring a feeling. That feeling is going to bring an image. That image is going to bring a sound. That sound is going to bring an emotion. And then you're in this full sensory experience. That's all you have to do, right? And it doesn't work in that order. Let's say that you're dominant seeing, which is very easy for you to see imagery of the spirit world and of energy and stuff like that. So maybe that sound or maybe the sight is going to bring a feeling, or maybe it's going to bring an emotion, or maybe it's going to bring, it's going to bring a knowing, right? And then it starts flowing. See, when you lead with your dominant sense, it just opens up all of the other ones naturally, and it just flows and it comes. And then you don't even have a dominant sense anymore. You just have one that just clicks off the bat. All right? Because once you broaden awareness to your abilities and you understand how things are kind of somewhat operating, okay, for lack of a better word, then you are open to experiencing these things in different ways. All right. You're not going in saying, okay, let me have the knowing. No, you're just going in and saying, I want to connect. And then whatever happens, happens. And then it just flows through and you're in this full body, undeniable, conversation with the spirit world. Okay. And when I say bring in awareness to your abilities, that's really all you have to do. There is no practice. There is no nothing. Okay. And to give you an example of what I mean. Okay. Let me illustrate it for you real quick on what I mean by bringing awareness, because sometimes people get confused when I say that. So I want everybody right now to just kind of put your hand over your heart and just feel for a minute. And I just want you to notice your heartbeat and just feel it and just kind of sync up with the rhythm of it and just kind of noticing it and feeling it, how it beats. All right, relax. Did you feel your heartbeat? Who in here felt their heartbeat? Let me know. Let me know in the comments if you felt your heartbeat. Before I asked you to bring an awareness to and focus on your heart, You had no idea your heart was beating. You didn't even know that you had a heart. You didn't know anything was going on. But it was. It was happening. It was happening without your awareness. But the second you focused on your heart, you felt every single beat. And it probably started to get more detailed, louder, feel it more. The experience was getting more rich the more you focused on it. That's exactly what our psychic abilities are like. That's exactly how they work. You bring an awareness to what you're seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, smelling, tasting, and there you go. It just, okay? That's how it opens up, all right? I hope that was helpful. I hope this kind of helped you guys, helps you guys become a little bit more aware where you can go, like give you a starting point. This is where you can start from, all right? From here, you just got to practice all of the time, right? And it's not practice in the sense that you're trying to get better. You want to practice because here is the fucking thing that I wish I would have known, okay? This is what I wish I would have known when I was on my spiritual journey. The more you practice, the more that you're going to understand your unique way of connecting. Everybody connects differently. Everybody. I've worked with thousands of people. I've never seen two connect in the same way, not even close. Everybody is different. All right. That's why the books aren't working. That's why the courses aren't working. That's why it doesn't matter how much information you're reading, consuming on spirit communication. It doesn't stick. It doesn't click. It doesn't convert into you having those undeniable flowing conversations because that's a method. That's a modality. That's a framework. Follow these steps and you'll connect. It doesn't work that way. You are unique in your way of connecting, and you have to discover what that is in order to connect with the spirit world on the level that I am talking about, on the level that I help you guys. All right. Now, all of my content is designed to help you find your unique way of connecting. All right. Just like we talked about here in the 7 psychic senses, your unique way of how they're operating. All right. But that's not it. You still have a different way of connecting than anyone else. And, while you can find some stuff that starts to kind of like work for you and have surface level experiences to where you're randomly connecting, you might be getting some fluff, you might be getting some general information, it might be coming through with a lot of doubt. Those other modalities can help you do that. Right? They can get you to like that place, right? Which can be helpful, but then you need to leave that stuff alone and start discovering your own unique way of connecting. And the only way to really do that, okay, is by doing this work, right? The way that I did it, I spent 9 years doing it. Right? And what I would do is every time I would connect with the spirit world, after I was done, I would analyze my experience. And what happens is with each experience, I would have an insight. And I would write that down, and then I would apply it to my next connection. And because I was using a new insight that I found, I would go a little bit deeper into the experience. And then I would write that insight down, right? I'd get a new insight. And so every experience that I was doing, I would get an insight, right? Some of them would just, be status quo. Some of them that would help me go deeper. I would write those down. Some of the insights were things that weren't working, right? But I was tracking my progress doing it. And so what it did was it allowed me to map my unique way of connecting. And it was like after this 9-year journey of doing this, it was like that last piece of the puzzle clicked into place, and it was like, whoa, there you are, spirit world. There you are, psychic senses. And it was like this whole new world opened up to me. It was like such this huge transformation that happened in my life. All right. And so that's really what it takes for you to connect on this level. Okay. That's really what it takes. All right. And if you're out there going, wow, August, that's amazing. That's wonderful. That's an awesome journey. But man, 9 years, and let me tell you, they were 9 rough years. Okay. It was like every single day I had traveled the world. Okay, I'd gone to all kinds of spiritual retreats. I've worked with all kinds of professional psychic mediums out there. Many of them are on TV and have written books. I've done everything that I was supposed to do. And it took me that long, and it took me tracking and analyzing my experiences to get there. 9 years, full force. I didn't have a job. I didn't work. It was, my family was very patient with me. All right. I was fully supported by them, but that's all I did for 9 years. Okay. And finally it got there. And finally I was able, to find that last piece. Right. But here's the thing. If you guys don't want to go through that head banging against the wall for 9 years like I did, I have another option, right? I have a mentorship program where I work with people to help them skip all of that nonsense, right? To where we can just go directly to it and find your unique way of connecting, all right? And the way that I do that is when I work with somebody, I'm in it with you. We are walking through the spirit world together, okay? And what happens is, I'm in the energy, I'm working with you, I'm trying different things, I'm watching how you respond, I'm feeling your energy, helping validate some of the stuff that you're getting, moving you through, and we're doing all this stuff, we're bouncing around like a pinball machine, right? And then eventually, boom, you're there. Undeniable, flowing conversation, that big moment that you've been waiting for, right? To where there is no doubt. The connection is crystal clear. You couldn't doubt the connection even if you wanted to. All right. And because I track your experiences, because I watch what's going on with you as we're connecting, I can reflect back your unique way of connecting, right? And we get it quick. It happens in a matter of months, not years. It happens very, very, very quick. Okay. Because we're skipping all the stuff. We're skipping all the trial and error. We're just going and getting you there. All right. And once you know your unique way of connecting, you have it for life. It never changes. It's always the same. All right. And it just gets easier because every time you go to connect, it is the same and you learn it even more and it just snowballs into this effortless, right? That's what I mean. You can just go right into it. Boom, and connect with any spirit anytime that you want, all right? Without meditation, without all that fluff stuff, right? And so, listen, if you're very serious about spirit communication and you're wanting to skip that 9 years and you know that I went through and you want to get out of all of that headache, I do have a couple spots open in my mentorship program. I'm currently enrolling before the holidays. Okay. I expect to be fully booked, before January. So make sure, if you're interested, and listen, I only accept people that are truly dedicated, right? This is one of the most important things that are going on in your life, right? And you have the time. That's the big thing, right? If you're working a job, if you have a 9 to 5 and things are crazy in your life, and you're experiencing difficulties, you have emotional difficulties, you have financial hardship, you have relationship things going on. Listen, focus on that stuff first. That's what's more important than connecting with the spirit world. And as a matter of fact, I would say that that's even more important than connecting with the spirit world because feeling good is one of the best things that you can do to connect with your abilities, right? And so, listen, if you are in a place in life where you're just ready and you have the time, the resources, and you're dedicated and you want to really, really do this, then schedule an interview for my mentorship program. Okay. You can do that by going to the link in the comments or the link in my profile or the link in this video. Somewhere you'll find a link to go to my booking page and pick a time and date that's good for you. Interviews are very limited. Okay. So please just, if this is what you want, all right, then jump on in. Get that interview. If you're just looking for information, you can send me an email. You can ask questions in my videos and stuff. I'm happy to give you all the information that you need about my mentorship program. But just be sure that if you are scheduling an interview, that you're ready to move forward. Right? If things line up, if you know that this is where you're going, and this is what you're meant to do, then just, for sure, I want to talk to you. Okay, especially if you want to use this to help other people, or if you want to use your ability to navigate your own life, right? To find more purpose and meaning and clarity, right? Not just connect with your loved ones. So on that note, I'm going to leave you guys. It was really nice connecting with you all. Thank you all for, sharing this moment with me. I love you, and we'll talk soon.